it's good seeing you, man, because it has been, even before the pandemic, man, it's been a while. Because I was trying to figure, I think the last time when I saw you was when we did a backstage interview at one of your shows. And that was a long time ago.
And that
And
wasn't Massey in 2018, was it?
I think it was. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Massey. It was
Yeah.
Massey because we kind of did it. I think it was either in your dressing room or outside your dressing room. It was something.
Yep. That was it.
And here you go, man. You turn around, and what happens from when I hear standing ovation, man? Your last show here in Toronto, same thing. Congratulations on that.
Thanks very much, man. Thank you. Yeah, I feel
What
very, very fortunate and very blessed.
what was that? What did that feel like, man? Because again, we've been through the pandemic. It's been a while. Here you are creating some cool music that we're going to talk about. You get out there, you perform in one of the biggest music cities in the world, and playing at a iconic venue, and that happens.
Well, it's the cherry on top of the whole story for me because it was a lot of effort and a lot of work and a lot of strange times in the last, 4 years since that last show. And had I known that would be the last time I play Massey, even because that was before the renovation too, right? So I was like
Yes.
one of the last artists to play there as the old Massey, and then to be sandwiched with the pandemic. And we had 2 children. We moved to the country. We renovated a house. I made this record from home remotely to finish it, and just a strange time. And then to finally be back at Massey to put a bow on it, on the other side. Oh man, it was pretty special.
During the pandemic, did your music style change in any way? Because I think we all changed in some way, shape, or form. But when it comes
Mhm.
towards artistic people, artists like yourselves, your music style, writing, thinking, presence could have been in one type of atmosphere. The pandemic hits, and now did that shift in how you were writing your songs and the messages that you were giving, and even its presence and its essence?
Well, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the biggest thing is because I had time, because the world had time, because we were forced to have time. I was able to be slow and I'm methodical and turn it into a labor of love. Because normally that record was actually done in the top of 2020. Like I thought I was done. I was going to headline Massey again in 2020 and then do the big tour in North America and stuff. And then obviously everything got canceled. So I was like, ooh, for the first time ever in my life, I'm going to sit back with this record and I'm going to really listen, and I'm going to, because what you always have to do is you always have a tour and a cycle coming. The team's like, where's the record? Where's the record? Where's the record? And that's the industry we live in. And suddenly I didn't have that pressure. So I'm going to go all Leonard Cohen on this. I'm going to agonize over every single word and every stanza and every section and every song, from tempo to production. And what exists now is not what existed in the beginning of 2020. And I think I'm really grateful for it because I couldn't have done it otherwise. And I've actually finished a record. Like, I can say that I walked away. There's nothing else I would change. And that's the first time in my life I could say that. And the other thing, I think I was able to change the lyric tonality and message because everything has far more meaning for me now. As crazy as it is and as certain as it still is, like, it's an uncertain industry like I've never experienced before. And the momentum of your career and the crazy rush, that all came to a quick halt at the beginning with the pandemic, and we're just starting to get started again. And it's like the engines just started to turn over. I think everyone feels that. I talked to a lot of my peers and like, yeah, it's just not quite feeling the same yet, and maybe it never will for our generation now that we've experienced both sides. But yeah, I think putting all of that into the lyrical content and the meaning and having our sons, and just, yeah, there's a lot of love and a lot of heavy topics these days.
That's what I want to get into too, because
Yeah.
when I knew you, it was Royal Wood, one person.
Mhm.
Now I'm almost in a lot of ways getting to re-know Royal Wood, the married dad.
Yeah.
How is musically Royal Wood, when I first meet you, differently from Royal Wood, husband and father?
Well, I think he's far more grounded and far more standing firmly and far more aware of not only what is most important, but also how precious and lucky I am to have a career. Because I don't get it in the 24/7 like I used to have it. Now it's compartmentalized because we have our boys and we have our life and other responsibilities. And so when I do get a chance to work, like I'm just so ready to do it and excited to do it and know that I have this moment to make mine and do something special, and then I put that away. Then I have my moment with my family, and that's special, and then I put that away. And you have to, almost exist as occasionally two people, which feels a little strange, but they both need to exist.
I'm curious, when did the boys, or have the boys figured out who Royal Wood is to us? And when they did, do you remember the moments? Because I know what it's like when kids are born and they grow up and they think everybody does what dad and mom does.
Mhm.
But there has to be at some point where they're going, wait a second, something different here than everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly Henry's come to a few shows, and he's the oldest. He's 2.5 now, and he certainly has a moment of like kind of looking at my wife and then looking at the stage and looking at my like, what's daddy doing? And everyone's staring at him and they're clapping. He's like, yay for daddy. So he's starting to get it. He's starting to get it. Yeah. It'll be interesting to watch in the coming years. They certainly are surrounded by music, and they
Mhm.
certainly love it in a way that I feel like is more than my nieces and nephews, and that's going to be fun to watch.
Well, it's fun to listen to. So let's get into it, my friend. New music. What is the new music, man? What is it called? What is it about? Give me the full scoop.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, the new record's called "What Tomorrow Brings," and it was, of course, about not just the pandemic, but just the craziness of these last couple of years. Everything
Mhm.
from the January 6th riot to Roe versus Wade to the social movements that had to happen, and I'm so proud of humanity for happening. And yeah, at the same time, you see this the pendulum swinging so far right with just partisan ridiculousness in the world, like in Europe included. And it's just, you go to bed and go like, what could possibly happen tomorrow? Like, what will tomorrow bring? Is it going to be something that makes me feel hopeful, or is it going to be something that like makes me take pause and worry about my boys and our family? And it it's a heavy time, and I am hopeful. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had children. But uh, I take it in stride, and I'm definitely watching with a careful eye. You know.
The thing that surprised me most is from what I've known from you from day one, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is a
Mm,
different sound. And the reason why I say that is because
mm.
it literally reminded me of 70s, early 80s soft rock. Am I right when I say that?
Oh yeah. And I don't think I intended to. What I think happened was I just wanted to make a record that I wanted to listen to. It's just the mood that I was in. And I definitely find myself these days, and I don't know if it's because we're tired from the boys, or if you return to your youth in times of stress or something. But when I was growing up, that was my favorite music. I mean, the sounds of the 70s and 80s and like late 60s singer-songwriters, I I don't think it's ever going to be topped. I don't think it ever will. I think it was just the one perfect moment in time in history where songwriters, male, female, across all races, the stuff that was coming out was so monumental and so important for everybody. Like it's so siloed now, like
Yeah.
it's so like, here's your lane and you stay in your lane. And it was just so across all the platforms. It was just, that's just the sound. It was like a wall of sound. And it was just peace, love, and harmony, and potential and hope. And yeah, it's nostalgic, obviously, look back, but I was raised then. That's like, I was born in 1978, so I was a product of then. My parents had me at a time when the world seemed bright, you know,
Yeah.
and we just had our boys at a time when the world literally just did not seem so bright. So I think we needed it, and I needed it, and this is what I had to make.
I just picture candlelight, drinking wine, having that special dinner, or just sitting and talking, the walks, in the park kind of thing, or just sitting together on a beach. That's what I hear or I see when I hear your music now, which is, it's great. It's tranquility is what I'm hearing.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think what it is um it's that phase of life, like I'm a married, committed family man, and my wife and I, we make sure we have our date night, and we have our wine, and we have our escape, and we have our time that's us. And it's a hard thing to find with two kids, but we do it. And I think that's just where I'm at. And I think when I listened to those early records, not that there was angst, but there was um exuberance and naivety and a like brashness, and I'm not brash anymore. I'm not. I'm just not. I'm softer now. I am. Like I feel it. I know it. And maybe it's just absolute crazy fatigue. But
Oh,
two boys, man. Oh God, two boys. They keep us on our toes. But it's not. I'm not like this. And I hear it in my voice when I sing too. Like when I listen to those first records, I can hear how tight and like it's just, I don't know if it was fear of of judgment. I don't know if it was not knowing myself yet, or finding my place, or maybe it was just like it was so exciting. I just couldn't contain like what I was doing. Like, wow, I'm in a studio with Pierre Marchand, or wow, I'm, you know, uh, whatever it was. Like, oh, I'm in Iceland shooting a video, and I just see it on my face and I hear it in my voice. And now, God, it's so like, you know, I I unloaded the dishwasher and sliced some carrots and put my son to bed like 2 seconds before I came on the Zoom call. You know what I
wow.
mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I got some interviews. And my wife's like, so what are the interviews? I was like, oh, well, my old pal Rudy, haven't talked to him forever, but the rest, haven't even looked. I don't know. Gotta go upstairs and do my Zoom calls. And I just don't. It just doesn't have the same. Not that it doesn't have the same preciousness, because it's more precious now than it's ever been. But it's just laid back. I'm just laid back right now. So
I love it, man. You deserve it. You absolutely
yeah.
deserve because we talk off camera, and I'm not going to go into anything, but you so deserve it. It's like I'm so happy for
Thanks,
you
man.
at this stage and point of your life. Like I keep saying, much, much, much deserved. Do we
Thanks,
deserve any
buddy.
more shows? Like, are we going to get more shows? What's going to happen and more music? Like, what's happening?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I was an elastic band that got pulled back and finally let go. So there's a lot, there's a lot coming. Working on a lot of projects, everything from an instrumental record to a Christmas record to a B-sides collection, like an
Oh,
acoustic
let me
version of
stop.
a bunch of these songs, like
let
so
me
much
let me
stuff.
stop you there. Let me stop you there
Mm,
because I want to get to the Christmas stuff because we are going
yeah.
into the holiday season. It was actually one of my
Yeah.
questions I was going to ask. Are we going to get a
Yeah.
holiday song? You just said so, man. We're getting a Christmas song. What's going on?
I'm just writing, just compartmentalizing ideas and putting them in my little folder. And then I already have scheduled in May. I'm going in the studio, and I'm going to start like May next year, so that it releases December of 23.
See what kids do for you to you.
No shit,
Like
man. Oh yeah, no shit. Seeing the world through the eyes of a kid is just, like everything is like I was alluding to before. There's an excitement in youth. I see my son like just marvel at watching a bee fly around.
yeah,
He's just like, what is that thing? And he's looking at it not only with excitement but also fear. And it's just like that's youth. You're both excited and chomping at it, but also afraid of the unknown. And I don't feel like there's very much unknown anymore. I mean,
yeah.
a truly wise man knows that he knows nothing, and trust me, life's got some kicks to the ass coming. I know it does.
Mhm.
But I feel like there's no like crazy surprises. Like I've buried my father. I've gone through divorce. I've been married twice. We have beautiful children. We've lived in the city. I've lived all over the world. I've lived in the country. I don't know. I feel okay.
I gotta ask this question. Have you ever watched your kids, okay, and especially the
Mhm.
eldest one? Have you ever watched him trying to figure something out and then the lightning bolt hits and he gets it? What is that like to see that?
It's my favorite when he gets like a joke or something that I've made, because our son Henry is very expressive and he'll look at me like all squinty, like, what did you just say? And then like something clicks and then he gives me this smirk and this laugh. I'm just like, oh, buddy. Like it just you're hearing it and seeing it, you know? And it's like when he suddenly each day he has a new sentence or a new word. It's uncanny how much this kid is like soaking it in, which is also terrifying because we really have to be careful these days what it is we're saying, when and how. Um, but he, he's got it. He's a smart kid. He's a really smart kid. Um, he's intense and brooding and intelligent, and I think he's gonna be like his dad. And George is like this sweet angel of a human. Like he is the sunshine we needed in our crazy, ridiculous life with Henry. And he's just my wife. Like it's just that's just what it is. So Lord help us. Lord help us all.
Okay, let's jump into the DeLorean and go back to the future, and let's talk about you as a kid, because we are talking the holiday season coming up. What was your favorite Christmas gift growing up, man? Do you remember as a kid?
I do, but it has a tragic ending. My favorite gift was a red wagon that my dad got me, and I'll never forget it because it was the night before Christmas, and he's like, hey, go into the dining room and grab a bottle of wine for your mom and I. And I was like, okay, so walk into the dining room because they have this little like wine shelf thingy and it has bottles on it and stuff. Um, I was such a like daddy's boy. I just love my dad. So I was like, go in, and I grabbed the bottle of wine and I run back into the room. He's like, okay, go and get us a wine glass. So I go back in, grab a wine glass. He finally is like, oh, come with me. And I was running past this red wagon every time, just running right past it, didn't see it, wasn't there. And I just lost my mind. It was like this red wagon was the greatest thing I'd ever seen.
Wow.
And I used it through the house. Like I was like carry everything in it. I'm trying to take it down the stairs, and it was my thing. And then I stupidly left it in the middle of our driveway, and
Oh,
our babysitter backed up over it, and that was the
oh.
end of my little red wagon. And I cried like I'd lost a friend. that's
But
that's
is that not an amazing story? Like, think about this. You as a child,
Mhm.
in what are we talking probably here? Are we talking late 70s, early 80s?
We were talking early '80s for sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
early
Yep.
80s. Okay,
Yep.
early 80s. And correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking about video games are starting to come in. You've got VHS video cassettes for
Hmm.
movies, you've got VCRs coming in, you got big tape decks happening, you got all of these electronic
Hmm.
things going on that kids are seem to be more exciting, and here you are, old school as can be, from the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Yeah,
And
I
what's
know.
exciting you is a little red wagon. That is
I know, dude.
amazing. That almost explains what this album is all about, man.
You're very astute, Rudy, and it's actually kind of scary. Um, yeah, I was that kid. I loved my instruments and I loved things. Like I loved, building my little model airplanes from scratch, and I loved going out. And we have 100 acres that we grew up on, and I would just go out and like make a bow and arrow and try to, shoot a tree. Or like
Yes.
I was just like the adventurous outdoorsy kid because I had three older brothers and they were the same
Did
way.
did you do slingshots too? And
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Big time, man. Like boys, it's. I've already warned my wife. Boys who grew up in the country just do some dumb, dumb, dumb shit.
But it was
Um,
fun.
oh, it was a blast. It was the best. You lose yourself for days. It felt like for days. I don't even know what. I don't even think my parents checked on us. They're just like,
No.
they'll come back. They will come back eventually. It was like a dog that just eventually came back for a meal. Like that's what boys are like growing up on a farm. Like, well, I'm hungry. I'm going in. Okay, going back. But yeah, and not only that, but my dad refused to allow video games in our house. he said, I know you're going to play at your friends' houses, but we have 100 acres, so go do something. And his most famous words, which I hated so much as a child, but I can already hear myself saying things to Henry that my dad used to say to me. So it's coming. But he used to say, either go find something to do or I'll find you something to do. And we always knew what that meant. That meant we were like, scrubbing the barbecue or sweeping the walkway or cleaning out his car. Like he was a tough dad, but you know what? We're all hard workers, so it has a way of paying off in the end.
Yeah, and we know how to shoot a slingshot and a bow and arrow, and we know how to make it and everything else. Just string down, shave the corner of it.
Oh yeah, man.
Oh, I miss those days. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
you really got me going nostalgia. I miss those
Rudy,
days.
where did you grow up?
Actually, here in Toronto. Moved around a lot,
All
but
right.
I'm probably about 10 years older than you. So I
You're
go
aging well,
by.
buddy.
Oh, thanks, man. I go by the, literally finding that sick to make the,
Oh yeah.
slingshot, and knowing how that if you got rust on your bike, you took Coke and poured it on it, rubbed it in, and the Coke got rid of the rust. Like, I'm that kind of guy. Your bike was like your car. So when your dad was washing his car, you washed your bike,
Oh yeah.
like.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, oh man. The adventures I had on my bike, everything from like, you know, finding like a porn magazine in a ditch to
Yes.
like, you're just like, or like, you know, seeing like beer bottles and empty bottles, like just the stuff on country roads where you grew up. It
Yeah.
was like always an adventure. Like, what am I gonna find in the ditches today? It's dumb but fun. Dumb but
Oh, we
fun.
used to climb. Look, and when I think about it now, we used to climb like bridges and stuff like that and hanging off. And I'm thinking to myself now, what the hell was I thinking? But
Oh yeah.
it was just like the bridge was there. I'm gonna go
Yep.
climb it. So we climbed it. And then you'd sit there and you'd be talking for hours hanging off of this thing. And you're not
Yeah.
thinking twice that somebody's gonna slip off and probably break their neck. And then you just climbed off again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's no helicopter parenting in our generation. It
No,
just didn't exist.
no
There's nothing
fear.
in the sockets, nothing on the corners of tables. There was no gate across the door. We didn't even wear seatbelts in the car. Like,
Yeah. It's funny.
I'm
I was
serious.
talking to my mom about that.
There was 5 kids in our family, which means 7 people, and we drove to Florida in like a 5-seater car. Where'd the other two go? Where did we go? Well, we were there for 3 days in a car, 12-hour shifts. It was like everyone made it. There's no car seat. My sister sat on my mom's lap. Like, just a different time. Just a different time. And I'm sure the generation before ours, because I'll put you and my in the same generation. I'm sure the one before looked at the next generation like, oh, what a bunch of spoiled little whatever. But
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that way now, looking at
Same
what's
here.
happening. I think everything's so fast and so easy and so free and so effortless. So anyway, we'll see what happens with the world. We shall
Well,
see.
part of our world is you and new music, and we're so happy for that. Thank you
Thanks, man.
for the great
Thanks,
music. Thanks for the great conversation. Congrats on the new life. Keep it going. And if the boys ever decide when they get older they want to, start recording or whatever else, hopefully I'll still be doing this. I would love to interview them and get them to tell me some stories about dear old dad.
Well, let's not wait for that to talk again. Let's make sure we also don't wait another 4 years to talk again. But it's always a pleasure, Rudy. Like, I really was looking forward to our chat. So thank you.
Thank you, my friend.